Hey everybody, this is Noelle's Notebook, and today we're going to be discussing shading, specifically how to shade, what materials I use, and how to know when to shade. First, it's important to know when to shade. First, to start off, ask yourself where the light is coming from, how far it is from the object you are shading, and what parts are facing the light. This will really help determine where you are going to shade. Now I will demonstrate those steps with the sphere. So right here I have a sphere, and the light is going to come from, let's say, here. I'm going to make the part closest to the light free of any shade, and the part farthest away shaded. Because I'm using a sphere, it can get complicated on where to stop shading because it's hard to see where the light stops hitting the sphere. Once you have that figured out, now you can get your materials. There are not many materials, but the few ones are very important. I use my drawing pencils, of course, they're Prismacolor, and I love them because they last literally forever, and they don't break or anything. And then I use a blending stump like this. If you don't have one, that's okay. You can always use your fingers, however, I do advise getting a blending stick, and it really helps, just making everything look so much more realistic and clean. Okay, now we can talk about how to actually shade, and I will talk about how to use the materials. Okay, so I'm going to just go in with a light pencil and shade in between them using a back and forth, and kind of just blending out that middle space. I can use it in the most shaded part, but since it's a really light pencil, that's not very helpful, but it kind of just used for the beginning layers. And then I go in with a darker pencil, and then I'm kind of just shading in, and I'm getting that really, really deep contrast between the shadow and the lighted up part. And yeah, I'm just using a back and forth motion and kind of making a crescent shape with all my blending patterns. And then I'm using my blending stick, again, just back and forth, using that nub to just get in there and then making it look very smooth. You see how everything was in lines, but now it's a bit more smooth into like a smooth texture rather than lines. And then I'm just going in circles, still smoothing it and making that contrast and really avoiding that little circle at the top where the light hits. And then I'm going in with an even darker pencil, making everything really, really dark and making that really big contrast to make it look so realistic. And then I had some lines, so I went in with that blending pencil in that circular motion. And then sometimes with the blending stick, it can be a bit patchy, so you have to go in and do it a few times. Yeah. I make sure everything's looking pretty smooth and pretty clean, so it's as realistic as can be. And then just keep doing that, adding final touches. And then I go in with my eraser, just cleaning everything up, cleaning up those lines that aren't actually there, and that generally just don't make sense. So yeah. So there you have it, our final product of a sphere. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for more tips and tricks.